You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 150.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hey, Yummy Mummies, what's going on? How are you? Okay, so listen up. We're going to talk about this topic is near and dear to my heart. Do you like passionate, Laura? We're going to get her on this podcast. We're going to talk about the actual problem when it comes to our relationship with food, when it comes to our weight, when it comes to this whole thing. Us living in our bodies, the actual problem. So get excited for this. This is going to be mind-blowing and really eye-opening for you. And it's going to give you that aha that you've been looking for. Because if you were anything, or if you are anything like I was, you are searching and searching and searching. So when I explain what the actual problem is, you're going to be like, oh, no wonder. So of course, before we dive in, we're going to do a client comment. One client that I thought was kind of relevant to this podcast is she said, Laura, this is from Leah. She says, Laura has created the most amazing experience to teach the skills that you will begin to practice for the rest of your life. You will lose weight, but more than that, if you apply what she teaches you and really practice it, you will not fear gaining weight ever again, which I think is amazing because this is the Yummy Mummy experience is the antidote to dieting. This is like the anti-diet, but you get the result that diets promise, which is you weighing what you want to weigh without any of the food drama, right? So because we're talking about the actual problem and then thus the actual solution, you won't be afraid. Now, you've probably lost weight before, but it's not even that amazing because you're just so nervous about gaining it back because you haven't built the confidence and self-trust that I teach you, along with so many other things. So thank you, Leah, for the shout out and for really helping to inspire other women that this is possible, that like, not only can you lose the weight, but like you can keep it off and you don't have to be scared. You're not anxious the whole time. It's not like there's like this dark diet ghost hiding in your closet, ready to spook you. Okay, you guys. So what I'm getting really excited about is the School of Skinny. So if you're listening to this on the day that it's being released, September 26th, it's not too late to sign up for the Yummy Mummy School of Skinny. We're doing it through the 28th. So the 26th, 27th, 28th. So if you haven't signed up, go sign up. Go to portal.lauraconley.com/school. And that's in the show notes. It's also on my Instagram link in bio. portal.lauraconley.com/school. So I am so excited. It was so fun last year. People got so many great results. So come learn the skill of how to lose weight for the last time. I'm going to teach you all the need to knows, all the hows. I feel like that's like not really like about my life and what's going on. Okay, here, let me give you something that's kind of funny because you guys have been hearing a little bit about my marriage and about like we've been talking a little bit about like the division of labor and the invisible workload a little bit. So just a note on communication. Oh, another reason why this is relevant is because we just had the Maggie Reyes come into the Yummy Mummy Masters. This is my master's program for clients who want to continue with me after they're done with the experience. And we have guest speakers and experts and coaches come in sometimes and teach on other subjects. So she came and taught about this concept called soul-centered communication. And I've been trying to implement that into my marriage, and it's been really interesting. But one thing I'm adding on to this soul-centered communication that she's teaching is a code word, a secret word. So my husband and I got into a little bit of a fight the other night. It was actually a very productive fight. We got through some things. But without getting into the details of that, one thing that I thought was really helpful was, yes, it was a productive fight. We solved the issue at hand, but what we didn't solve is like how we fight. Like it was a little too feisty. There might have been some insults, according to my husband. So I went back to my husband. I was like, I think we need a code word on like, hey, I have something that I want to bring up that might be like a touchy subject, right? Because I feel like I just like dive into it and I'm like in reaction mode. So he's like, oh, okay, well, the code word, well, really, you guys, it's a code sentence. So this is what we're doing now. I have to like report back and let you know like how it works in real time. But the code sentence is going to be like, okay, I'm having a big feeling. Can we talk? I'm having a big feeling. Because this is like what we teach our kids to say, right? So it's kind of funny, which I like because it brings humor right off the bat. It's like, okay, I'm having a big feeling. Like it's just kind of silly. I don't know. I kind of like it. But the underlying, and this is what we decided together, the underlying intention of that sentence is connection, and this is figure outable, and we're here and we're in it together. So it's not like I'm having a big feeling and I want you to change and you suck. It's like I'm having a big feeling and I want to bring this up so that we can connect and so that we can grow together and so that we can have a better life because of this. So that's my code word. This is just something that we've come up with that I'm like excited about. And so I want to share it with you. So that's what's going on over here. Okay, let's dive into the meat and potatoes, no pun intended, on this episode. Okay, so we want to talk about what the actual solution is, because one of the main reasons as to why I'm guessing you, right? Now, I have a lot of clients that listen to my podcast who've solved this once and for all. But what are the main reasons as to why you haven't solved your weight problem, your relationship with your body problem, your whatever you want to call it, fill in the blank problem? The reason why is because we're treating the wrong problem. We think we have this problem, and then we're using a solution that is the incorrect solution because we have the incorrect diagnosis. So like you can probably think of an example like this in your life, right? Like, have you ever been misdiagnosed? And then because the diagnosis was incorrect, you applied the incorrect solution. Like I think about this with my daughter, my poor little baby daughter. Oh, breaks my heart thinking about it. She was really sick at 3 weeks old, and they misdiagnosed her with meningitis. So they were treating her for meningitis, and she wasn't getting better, and she wasn't getting better. And she wasn't getting better because she was misdiagnosed. In fact, what she had was a really severe UTI that turned into VRU, I think it's called, or VUR. Anyways, without getting too detailed into that, she wasn't getting better because they were treating the wrong problem. And until they identified the correct problem, they couldn't apply the correct solution, right? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? This is what's going on in diet culture. This is what's going on with us. This is why sometimes it feels like we're banging our heads against the wall. We're like, God, why can't I figure this out? Is because this has not been identified. The actual thing that we are trying to treat is incorrect. Okay, y'all. So let's first talk about the misdiagnosis, like the perceived problem, the problem that you have, but that's not the actual problem. So what you think the problem is that like something is wrong with you, right? I call this like special unicorn syndrome. Like, oh, it's something with my thyroid, or this is just my fate, or this is like my, oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is just my genes. This is just how women in my family are built. Like you might think the problem is that you just don't have enough willpower. Like if you could just muster up a little bit more willpower, then you would be good to go. Like you think the problem is, oh, I'm not doing the right workouts or the right combination of workouts, or I'm not doing enough, or maybe I'm doing too much, or I need to do more weight training. And maybe you think the problem is like, oh, you're just not creating enough of a deficit. You just got to like eat less calories. You just got to go back to like eating 1,000 calories a day, 800 calories a day. You probably think that the problem is that like you just like you don't have enough time. Like if you just had more time, then you'd be able to meal prep. Maybe you think the problem is you're just too social. Like you just want to do too many quote unquote fun things, right? And start to think about this for yourself. Like, what do you think the problem is? Like, why do you still not weigh what you want to weigh without any shame? Don't be like mad at yourself, right? But I promise you, you've misdiagnosed the problem. And because of that, you are then applying the incorrect solution, right? So you think then the solution is, oh, the next new diet, the diet that my friend's doing, maybe keto, or you got to count macros, or extreme and intermittent faster. Like maybe you think I just got to do better. I just got to try harder, right? Like I just got to muster up some more will. Maybe you think I just got to schedule better. Oh, I know. I got to get a nutritionist or a trainer. Really, honestly, this perceived solution, this incorrect solution, is getting someone else outside of yourself to prescribe something to you. Maybe you think the solution is, oh, I just got to work out more. I know I'm going to do 2 a days. You think the solution is, I just got to eat less. I got to stop drinking alcohol. I got to stop eating chocolate. I got to stop eating carbs. I got to stop whatever. Maybe you think the solution is, oh, I should do that cleanse. I should do that detox. Maybe I have a tapeworm. I'm going to do the owl cleanse. No. Okay. The best thing that y'all do, and you guys, I know all of this because this was me for so long. Maybe you think the perceived solution is doing the thing that worked, quote unquote, worked before. Oh, I know. I'm just going to go to Weight Watchers again. That worked. Newsflash. That didn't work because you're listening to this podcast right now, right? You're still trying to solve this. And what we want is to solve this permanently, not for 6 weeks, not for just the one vacation that's coming up in a couple months. No, we want to solve this permanently. So what do we have to do here? We have to actually get the correct diagnosis. We have to actually be able to articulate the actual problem, because when we have the incorrect problem, right? When we have a misdiagnosis, we are not applying the correct solution. And then we get all these crazy results, right? Like you're just constantly overthinking. You're not losing any weight, or you are, but then you're gaining it back, or you're just gaining more weight, period. Tons of time, energy, money, resources, headspace, tons of wasted energy, tons of wasted resources. You're not living the life that you want. You don't feel like yourself. Like you're just not yourself. You're moving farther away from who you are. Maybe you just have more shame and more guilt because of this. I mean, I know for my clients, this is true. And this was me too. Like you were just walking around in a shame suit. Like you're just like, well, I really must be a failure. I can figure out everything else in the world except for this. And that feels like, oh, I mean, I could barf thinking about it. It's the worst feeling. Okay. So we do not want to continue to misdiagnose and then give ourselves the incorrect cure and then create all of these results that are not helpful, that are not intentional. They're not useful. It sucks, right? Okay. So let's talk about what the actual problem is here. Okay. First and foremost, I want to be really clear. There is nothing wrong with you. This is not your fault. Okay? You weighing what you weigh right now is not bad or wrong, nor is it your fault. Okay? Like you really have to hear me loud and clear. But the cool thing is that even though it's not your fault, like the reason why you don't weigh what you want to weigh is because, again, we have been misdiagnosed and because we live in the culture that we live in. And we're going to get into that in a moment. But even though it's not your fault, best news ever, it could be, what if it was your responsibility? Maybe even you're right. Your responsibility. You have the ability to respond to this quote unquote problem so that you can get the result that you want. So I just want to make that really clear. This is not your fault. And maybe it's your responsibility, which is great news. Okay. It's not my fault. I don't need to have any shame around it. And I have the ability to respond to this problem, quote unquote. Okay. This problem, this circumstance, this thing, this situation, whatever you want to call it. Me not weighing what I want to weigh. Me not feeling like myself in my body. Me not being confident. Me not being myself. Me not blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blank. Okay. So the actual problem, number one, Your brain is wired as a diet brain. Okay. Again, not your fault. This is just like, think about the air that you breathe. The reason why your brain is wired as a diet brain is because of the air you breathe, is because of the culture you live in. Like, it's because you exist in our culture. Again, not your fault. So I want you to think about the brain. Inside your brain, there are sentences, which is called your thoughts, and your thoughts create your feelings, which create your actions, right? Thought, feeling, action cycle. Because you have certain thoughts, then you feel certain feelings, and then you take certain actions. And your thoughts right now are misaligned. Your thoughts right now are coming from a diet brain. They're not coming from a yummy mummy mind, I like to call it. Or a I've lost weight for the last time brain, whatever you want to call it. And again, this is normal. But let's talk about black and white thinking. Let's talk about all or nothing thinking. Let's talk about perfectionistic thinking. That comes from the diet brain. You guys can go back and listen to a podcast that I have on the diet brain and exactly what that is. But right now, one of the problems, one of the actual problems, part of the actual problem is that your brain is just wired as a diet brain. It likes to do all or nothing thinking. So if you eat 7 gummy bears, it likes to think, oh, well, I ate 7 gummy bears, so let's throw in the towel and eat a whole carton of ice cream and we'll start again on Monday. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Sound familiar? Yeah. So diet brains operate in black and white thinking. Diet brains also love to use willpower, but willpower doesn't work. It runs out, right? It's not a renewable resource. That's why at the end of the day or the end of the week, it's like 4 pieces of pizza. It's like you just don't care, right? What about moral licensing? This is like the thoughts. Oh, I've done good all week, so I deserve XYZ, right? That's coming from your diet brain. What about, oh God, the time it takes to lose weight? Our diet brains love to offer that it should take like a month to lose like 40 pounds. No. Our brain's like, we should lose 5 pounds a week. No, no, no. Diet brains also love to think that there's a stop and a start. Like, okay, we're going to start this way of eating, and then we're going to stop in 3 months or in 75 days or in whatever, 21 days or 6 weeks. No, 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 no. What about love and acceptance? Oh, it gets icky, right? A lot of the reason why we don't lose weight is because we don't celebrate the little wins. We aren't having fun. We're not loving ourselves. Instead, we're berating ourselves. We beat ourselves up for when we make a quote unquote mistake instead of learning from it. This is all coming from your diet brain. Good news is we can rewire your diet brain. Okay. So this is just part 1 of the actual problem. Actual problem, you have a diet brain. Second part of the actual problem is you have an over desire for food. Again, normal, right? There's like literal food labs. All the processed food in our culture is designed to create an over desire in our brains. Like, this makes perfect sense. We're not wrong or bad. They're just playing to our lower brains. So because you have an over desire for food, because again, the culture that we live in, you have an over desire for food. So you overeat food, and then you're over your desired weight. But the good news is we can lower that desire. And then this also can turn into the over restriction cycle, right? Because you have an over desire for food, you want it so badly, and then you overeat food. And then because you've noticed that you've overeaten, you start to over restrict food, right? Like Monday through Friday, you over restrict it. And then on the weekends, you go buck wild. Have you guys seen that? Have you seen that cycle before? So follow me through the loop. You have an over desire for food, you can't handle the over desire. So then you overeat. And then because you overeat, you over restrict. And then you have the over restriction. And guess what? Guess what happens when you have over restriction? Over restriction creates over desire. And it just keeps on going and going and going and going. But we can circumvent that. We can heal that, right? Because inside the Yummy Mummy experience, we do not over restrict. Okay. We do restrict like we restrict everything else in our lives. We restrict our alcohol. We restrict our sleep, we restrict our behavior, right? And I don't ever want you to over restrict, or I don't ever want you to be deprived. But if you want a result, there has to be healthy restriction. This is like a good thing, right? It's normal for you to have an over desire for food. Good news is we can lower it. We're literally like Pavlovian dogs. We are conditioned to over desire for food, or we are conditioned to over desire food. So just think about that. Think about how important food is in your life, how much you think about it, how much you yearn for it, how much you look forward to the weekend so that you can have XYZ food, right? You're like, oh, I can't wait for happy hour so that I can have like the mozzarella sticks. It just shows you that there's an over desire for it. You're still going to desire food. That's normal. It's just going to be number 8 on the list of things that give you pleasure. It's not going to be number 1, because when it's number 1, we don't weigh what we want to weigh. Okay. The actual problem. So we talked about your brain is a diet brain. That's how it's wired. That's part of the problem. We talked about that you have an over desire for food. Part of the problem. Both normal. Nothing wrong with you. Good news is we can respond to both of those. Number 3, emotional hunger is at play. You are eating for emotional reasons. Now, you might not identify as an emotional eater. You might. Oh, this was so eye-opening for me, you guys. I was like, oh my God, I'm an emotional eater? Because I realized if I could identify as an emotional eater, then I had a problem that I could actually solve. I never identified an emotional eater because I didn't eat in the way that our culture depicts, meaning I didn't binge on a Wednesday night after a very stressful day. I didn't eat 2 bags of chips and a carton of ice cream followed by 7 turkey sandwiches. That is not wrong or bad either, you guys. I want to be really clear with that. If that is you, that's okay. We can solve for that. Overeating is just when you are eating more food than your body needs. And I was doing that with like an extra square of a grilled cheese, or like a handful of nuts when I was bored, or like an extra cupcake at the party. And you guys, there's room for treats inside my methodology. It's just that we want to eat most of the time, not necessarily all the time, but we want to eat most of the time for physical hunger, not for emotional hunger. We don't want to use food to solve problems other than hunger. Right? So if you're standing in front of the fridge and you're not hungry, we need a different solution. And I teach that inside the Yummy Mummy experience, right? That's the only problem that food can solve, is hunger. When you're looking to solve boredom with food, if you're looking to solve a need for comfort with food, if you're looking for relief and you're trying to use food to do that, if you're stressed, or maybe you want to have a better time than you're having at the party, this is where we have a huge opportunity, actually. So this is part of the actual problem, is you are using food for what it is not for. You are eating for emotional reasons, not purely just physical reasons. And again, I want to be clear that inside the methodology, inside the Yummy Mummy method, there is tons of room for not only eating pleasurable foods, but also for having your favorite cookies and cream ice cream cake, or whatever the thing is. It's just not all the time. It's just in a way that's supportive of you instead of the opposite. Okay. Another problem, another part of the actual problem, is that you don't have real accountability. We need real accountability. We have to learn accountability. We have to learn to keep our word to ourselves, right? Accountability is proven. The research is there. Accountability works when it is real and true. This doesn't mean you can just get your bestie to like do some diet plan with you. No, that's not real accountability. Real accountability is you put yourself in a container where someone is checking in on you on a day-to-day basis while you are being taught the skill of inner accountability. That's the ability to want to follow your word when things get hard, right? I thought you just came one way or the other. No, you can actually cultivate, and I'm going to teach you how. You can cultivate the skill of wanting to follow through in the moment. That's where you become unstoppable. That's where you become a total badass, right? You literally, your word above everyone else is. Like, you have your own back. So many of us as moms and women, we're really good at keeping our word to other people, but like not ourselves. Good news is we can learn how to do that. I think a lot of us are trying to do this work alone. And that's another part of the problem. We're like, oh no, I shouldn't need help. I'm so successful in all other areas of my life. Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to spend this money on myself. You need accountability. You need a community. You need a container. You need real accountability if you want to solve this once and for all. And that is part of the actual problem, is that you're not giving yourself real, true accountability external while you learn the internal piece. So there's external accountability and internal accountability. External is like inside the Yummy Mummy, someone's checking on you every day, and you're learning the skill of being able to do it on your own as well. Okay. The fifth and final part of the actual problem is that your hunger hormones are not balanced. Now, what does that mean? I'm so relieved, you guys, that it's not like, oh, you just need to create a bigger calorie deficit. Oh, are you kidding me? I'm like, I can't eat 500 calories. Like, I need sustenance here. I'm going to tell you, your hunger hormones are not balanced. I believe the latest stat is 88% of our hunger hormones as a culture are not balanced, meaning that we are metabolically inflexible, meaning that we are insulin resistant. If this feels like jargony to you, I'm going to explain it in like real layman's terms, okay? So your hunger hormones, chemicals in your body, are imbalanced. So they are telling you you're hungry when you're not hungry, and they're not telling you you're full when you actually are full. The three main hunger hormones are insulin, leptin, and ghrelin. And when they are imbalanced, you're going to be storing fat when you're not meant to be storing fat, and you're not going to be able to release the fat on your body when you're meant to release it. It's really not that hard to get them into balance. We don't need fancy tests. We just need to slowly start moving ourselves away from processed foods and foods that will spike our blood sugar, which therefore then spikes our insulin. Insulin is a hunger hormone that cues your body to store fat and will not let you release the current fat on your body when that insulin is elevated. So we want nice, even rolling hills of insulin, up, down, rolling hills, instead of big, huge spikes and troughs. We get those big, huge spikes and troughs. It's impossible to lose weight. So I help you inside the Yummy Mommy experience to create a protocol that you have buy-in on, right? This is where I'm not prescribing something to you, but I give you heavy-handed recommendations. We create it together so that you know why you chose what you chose, and so that your protocol or your Yummy Mommy map is supporting you. You're not a slave to it. It's there to help you, right? And so that is the whole point of our protocol or our Yummy Mummy map, is really to balance those hunger hormones. Because you guys, when your hunger hormones are balanced, it is like borderline effortless to weigh what you want. It's crazy. I remember, I tell a story all the time. When I was losing weight for the last time, I would like be afraid to get on the scale, because I'd be like, oh God, I ate like a nourishing normal amount of food yesterday. And then I'd get on the scale and I'd be losing weight, because I was eating whole, nourishing, delicious foods that were helping me to balance my hunger hormones, my insulin, my leptin, my ghrelin. So my body was telling me I was hungry when I actually needed food, and it was telling me when to stop when I was full. And I didn't have those huge spikes and those huge troughs. Another problem with the huge spikes and the huge troughs is, like, have you guys ever eaten breakfast and then been hungry 2 hours later? Or eaten a big meal on like a Saturday night, woke up starving? Because you're getting a huge spike and then you're getting a huge trough. And that's when you can get hangry. I rarely get hangry anymore because my body is so fat adapted, meaning my body's so insulin sensitive that it can easily use the fat stores on my body for fuel. That's why we have fat. Isn't that so cool? It's like actually the coolest thing ever. You can like really start thanking your body for having fat instead of hating your body for having fat. Your body's just doing what it thinks it's supposed to be doing. Right. So that is another part. And the final part that I'm going to talk about today of the actual problem is that your hunger hormones just aren't balanced. Good news here is that these 5 things are really easy to solve for. Really, really easy to solve for. So how are we going to solve for this? We're going to create a custom plan that you actually love, that you actually want to follow, that balances your hunger hormones. So weight loss really, truly feels effortless. It's so, so, so cool. Then you're going to learn how to honor your plan, how to want to honor your plan. You're going to rewire your brain. You're going to learn to feel your feelings. You're going to learn to be accountable to yourself, right? So these are the actual solutions. So if the actual problem is one, your brain is wired as a diet brain. Have you guys heard of neuroplasticity? We're just going to rewire your brain. It's really not that hard. It's actually so simple and so easy and so doable that I'm like, how is everybody not out there in the world preaching this? And I'm like, well, I guess other diets that are out there, they need recurring revenue. I don't know, right? But we are just going to rewire your brain. We're going to lower your over desire. We are going to stop eating for emotional reasons most of the time. We're going to implement real accountability, external and internal. We're going to do all of those things. So that is the actual solution. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what happens when you diagnose the actual problem and then solve for that, right? Doesn't this clear so much up? I feel like this is for me, it was just so eye-opening. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. And it's so relieving too, because like now you have a solution. You're not banging your head against the wall anymore. It's like, oh, I was just treating the wrong problem. Nothing is wrong or bad with me. Totally not my fault, but now I can respond and I can actually start to apply these solutions. So I want you to come into the School of Skinny if you're not already there. And I want you to sign up for the Yummy Mummy experience. Our next cohort starts in October. So you got to get in there. You can go to lauraconley.com, click work with me. And inside the experience, we're going to do exactly what I talked about today. We are going to start to apply the actual solution so that you can get the results that you so desperately want, that you deserve, and that are available to you. And you creating those for yourself is actually easier and more simple than you think. We have to do something new and different. We can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. It's literally the definition of insanity, right? Like, we're just doing the same diet. We're just doing the same thing. I mean, it looks a little different, right? It's just like dressing up the pig. It just looks a little different. No, it's the same thing. You have to do this new and different experience if you want new and different results. So I highly encourage you, if this is resonating, to get yourself in, to sign yourself up for that October cohort, because think about March, you are ready for spring break, baby. Think about not even having to put this on your list for 2024. Like, what? You're just done. Nail and coffin. You guys, we have bigger and better shit to get up to in our lives. Like, oh my God. There is so much mental space that we are spending on this problem. Let's just solve it once and for all so that you can go create cool, awesome, leave your legacy here on this earth and go make your contribution. Even if that's like, I don't even want to say even if, but like, oh my God, don't get me into this whole conversation. My brain's like going crazy because my brain's like, well, what is the point of life? But my point is, I don't want you spending any more time or energy on this problem that you need to. Dedicate 6 months to this. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Okay. So I love you guys so much. Go sign up right now. Bada bing, bada boom. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'll totally help you. team@lauraconley.com, or just go to lauraconley.com to sign up and snag your spot for October. Okay. I love you. Have the absolute best week ever. Ciao, ciao. Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with the cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.